All right. Dang it, I'm doing all right. Dude, I am struggling. All right, here we go. The bike is loaded with a little bit of damage. The pain meds are on board, and I will not be working out for the next few days. But you know what? Time to take the high road.
Welcome to Taking the High Road podcast, Spring Break edition.
Hey-o, party! Just kidding.
So Jacobina,
just soda water. This is when I was in Florida, kind of partying like with spring break, but this is just soda water, just trying to keep it healthy.
So how was spring break? You went visited your sister?
It wasn't my spring break, but I'm on the constant spring break, if you will. The last 4 days in Pigeon Forge / Gatlinburg area in Tennessee. I actually didn't realize how touristy it is until I got there. My sister kind of went with it. She texted me like 2 weeks ago, said they decided to go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee for spring break, and I was like, sounds good. Never been there, but we'll see. So, but it was a good experience, except for the very last experience I had in Knoxville before I came out here to North Carolina. But the week was fun. I stopped actually in Knoxville on the way there and did a little mountain bike ride along the river. Knoxville is super cool. I'm a big fan of it. I think for the next couple months, I'm going to keep pushing you to try and go there and visit there with Lori and the kids. I think it's a good spot. I think I would rather spend effort trying to convince you to go move to Knoxville than to anywhere in Texas, but it's limited exposure. I only hung out in Knoxville for about 3 or 4 hours, checked out some of the touristy things there, went for a bike ride along the river and saw the University of Tennessee Stadium, and went to like the Greenway they have there, and just cool vibe. School was still on spring break, so there wasn't a ton of college kids that were driving around blasting music and causing havoc. But a lot of people walking their dogs, riding bikes, and it just seemed like a very active community area right there on the river of Knoxville and this near the University of Tennessee. I didn't realize it was situated like that, but big fan of Knoxville. I stayed there for a few hours, and then my sister, they drove down from Chicago, and they actually were going through Knoxville on the way down to Gatlinburg. So I was like, I'll just stay here, and you guys let me know when you get here, and we'll get some food. So I asked one of the local people that were just doing a run. I say, hey, where's your go-to place for a burger? And she said Sevier Avenue burgers, something to that extent. So ended up eating there and having some pretty good burgers, and then made our way back down to Pigeon Forge, and that's where we stayed. And from the get-go, it felt like it was back in Panama City Beach, because it had tons of touristy stuff. It had race car tracks, mini golf, waxy museums, Wonderworks, all the stuff that I think towns put up for tourists to come visit. And I just didn't know it was a hub for spring breakers, but it was pretty crowded the whole time in Pigeon Forge, which is just a little north of Gatlinburg, and we had a really good time. I would go again. It was good enough where I'd go again, but it is definitely a tourist trap. And if you want to have a good time, you're probably going to be spending some money, which I'm going to go further into during the episode on what we did and kind of what it cost.
What is so you're talking about Gatlinburg, but you're high on Knoxville. Is Knoxville? What are they known for? Just University of Tennessee?
I don't really know what they're known for besides moonshine. Not Knoxville, but Tennessee in general is known for the moonshine. But I didn't get to see a lot, but what the little bit I did see with the tourists, I went to one of their tourist spots, which is called the Sun Sphere, and it kind of looks like that one building in downtown Dallas, where it's just narrow and then has a round top. And there's just cool little sidewalks and walkways, and the river is pretty close, and it just had a great vibe to it. I love the weather. The weather felt like SoCal in March and April, and it wasn't crazy crowded, not a lot of traffic. It was easy to ride around on my mountain bike on the pads and stuff. So I'd like to go see more. I'm not completely sold on it, but it didn't give the same vibe as Nashville, which just feels crowded, expensive, and just too big of a city that I think I'm looking for. So Knoxville's cool, but the reason I'm talking it up so much is because I don't think I could live in like Pigeon Forge or in Gatlinburg. I'm telling you, it's just it was bumper to bumper and tourists all along the sidewalks. And then they have Dollywood there between Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, which is pretty much like an amusement park with roller coasters, but it's all Dolly Parton themed.
Mhm.
So it's cool. I'd rather live in Knoxville and then maybe go visit Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg when I have people come visit and just take them down there and do the touristy thing. So that's why I think I'm more set on Knoxville. I'd like to check it out maybe very beginning of summer, like late May, early June, before it's too hot. Because some of the locals I talked to did say it gets pretty freaking hot at the end of July and all of August.
You probably should go in the July and see if you can handle it.
Yeah, it's a possibility. When I do my California road trip, what I might or when I might instead of going from my California road trip and my last stop in Denver before I head back to Dallas, I'm actually going to go up to Illinois because we have that flag football camp at Fremd from like June 3rd to June 14th or 15th, and since it'll probably end up going over a month, but before I check on my house, I'll probably actually drive down after the flag football camp, and then what I'm going to do is try and go through Knoxville on my way down, check it out, end of June, middle of June, and then I maybe get a better idea of what it feels like in the summer. But once again, school will be out, so I won't really get the taste of how crowded it is when you got whatever 20-30,000 students at the university. But that's make it easier to get around and check out stuff, I guess.
Maybe you should just enroll, get that degree.
Just hang out with college chicks. Be that old weird creeper and the sociology class or women's studies.
Yeah,
male
cheerleader maybe.
I was when I was riding my bike and I was going by what I assumed were 18 to 22-year-olds that were like walking. It is so funny because a lot of the girls that were walking were walking in pairs, and I think that's actually smart. Not because of people like me, but it's better safety in numbers. But everyone I was riding past and said hi to said hi back and smiled, and it just seemed like just friendly. Random strangers, grown-ups that were riding bikes and we crossed paths to the students that were just going for a walk on the sidewalk. So I don't know, just everything about it. I don't know if I even can think of something negative about Knoxville. So, but I definitely can think of stuff that are negative about Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. I do not want to ever go there again during spring break, but I absolutely would go back again outside of the spring break time, preferably late May, early June. So I think it'll be just perfect when I'm heading back from Chicago back to go back check on my house this summer.
Okay, well then what did you guys do? What did you end up doing?
Fun time. It was fun time. Obviously more for the kids. Us adults just tagged along and flip the bill. Is that how you say it? I don't know. But so first day, we thought it was going to rain and ruin everything, and actually we were going to go horse riding on the first day on Monday. We got there last Sunday night. Monday we were going to go horse riding for about an hour, and then for a 10 o'clock appointment, and then like in the morning they text all the scheduled tours and said it was canceled because there was some rain in the morning, but then it cleared up. We ended up going to a spot where it's not a roller coaster. I don't know how to describe it, but you're on carts, so it's like $20. And it's like it almost pulls you up a conveyor belt, not a conveyor, I guess kind of like a roller coaster, how they take you up the hill or take you up to the top before the drop, and it kind of takes you up the mountainside, and then you're on your own little cart that has brakes, and you're just on the rail system, and you kind of just ride down. It's kind of pretty cool. It's not like an amusement park ride, but it's similar to that. And we just kind of did that just to see what it was, and that was a good start, especially since it just finished raining. And then we ended up doing the Titanic Museum, which was okay. That's one of those things where if it is raining and you can't do anything outside, they have a wax museum there. They have some indoor stuff that you can do if it's raining while you're there. But it's just, it's like $20, $30 to go do the tour and find out the history about the Titanic. And it wasn't super exciting, but it was interesting. There's some weird facts and cool artifacts that they had. So it was good interim event that really wasn't the best part, but it helped kill a couple hours. And then the next day, Tuesday, was a long day. Went to Dollywood. Dollywood is an interesting place. It's about $100, $92 for a day pass. And I don't know if it's worth that, but I fortunately got the military discount and only paid like 70, I think, for mine. But it's like a mix between like SeaWorld, like how good the SeaWorld rides are. Remember when you guys went, like decent rides, but it was no like Six Flags where it has like major, like legit roller coaster rides. But there were some good ones there. It's worth going.
Mammory Mountain's pretty good, right?
They didn't, that was closed actually. Yeah, no, man. They actually had like the newer ride. I asked one of the ladies when we walked in, I said, hey, what's the ride we should really go see or go try to get on? She's like, oh, do Big Bear. It's something, I think Big Bear Mountain. And of course, that was the one ride that was closed, temporary closed. So we didn't get to do that one, but it's a good time. I had fun. Kids had a good time. It was like $20 or $15 for a slice of pizza. So you're going to be paying those amusement park prices, but it was fun. It was a good day.
Oh, those are California prices, man.
Right. Well, you know, Dolly's got to make that money. She's not making movies like 9 to 5 anymore. So she's got to get that revenue coming in.
Should have just came here to Six Flags.
But so I will give Dollywood a shout out. They were staff. Majority of all the staff that I interacted with was super friendly, very helpful. Like didn't seem like they had an attitude like sometimes they do. And it was the staff was definitely top notch compared to some of the Six Flags and even some of the people I've interacted with at Disneyland. So I'll give it a thumbs up. So that was pretty much. Not when you were a kid and you could probably go to an amusement park for 8 hours and just love it and take it all in. After 5 hours, it opened at 10 and we were done by like, I think 3 o'clock. We were like, yeah, we're ready to call it. Like my knee was hurting and getting old, walking around was just not my flavor anymore. And the kids were actually tired and we went on all the good rides. So we called it quits on Tuesday and then kind of just got some dinner and hung out. Wednesday was actually the funnest day, our last day, because they left Thursday morning and then I headed over here to North Carolina. I absolutely would recommend if you do one must do, it's zip lines. Zip lines are super cool. On Wednesday morning, we actually finally did the horse riding, and that was okay. That was fun. It was just kind of just the slow little walk canter through some of the ravines, and it was only about 45 minutes to an hour, and that was like $100. I wouldn't really say that was worth it. But if you've never ridden a horse and you want to just check it out, like that's an activity you can do. But later that afternoon the place was booked. It's called Climeworks, but it's funny because there's no climbing. It's called Climeworks and the acronym means something, and it's something about a positive, it was like a positive spiel they gave us about what climb means for Climeworks. But so it was about, I want to say 100, 125. But absolutely worth it. We rode up on ATVs and got up to the top to the first zip line. And then from then on, we did 6 total zip lines and varying from anywhere from a couple hundred feet to like 1,200 feet. And I'd never done zip lines before. And it was awesome. Had a great time. We had 3 ladies that were our guides and took us through and just were really fun, interacting, having a good time. Just really, really, really fun time it was me and my sister and her family, 6 of us, and another family of 5. So we kind of just all take turns. There was 2 lines that they would send us, and the guides would go first, so they're down there to receive, and then one guide would stay back and kind of latch us up and throw us down. But it was a really good time. I would absolutely do that in a heartbeat again. And one of the girls that was our guides told me that they actually have one on Oahu, and I never knew that. And I was like, man, maybe we should go to Oahu. And the one day me and you and the family spend on there, we'll do zip lines, and then we'll go to one of the small islands.
I bet it's pretty cheap out in Oahu.
Yeah, it's probably more than 100 out in Oahu for sure. But it definitely feels like a tourist trap, and we didn't even really see much of Gatlinburg. It's about 20 minutes south of Pigeon Forge. We drove down there and it was bumper to bumper, and all the sidewalks were full. And like Gatlinburg's a smaller little mountain town, and like it's like built along the river. One of the sides of the town's along the river. Super cool. Would be probably fun early summer when there's not a bunch of tourists, but it was just like shoulder to shoulder people walking down the sidewalks, and there was like no parking. It was just crazy. And they had like an aquarium down there and some other stuff that Gatlinburg provide, or activities that Gatlinburg has, but we were just kind of over it. We just ended up driving through the city, turning around and going back to Pigeon Forge just as it was too crowded.
So do you think your sister and the family would want to ever go back there? Or they're like, nah, it's a one and done type thing?
I feel like Becca and Brian both said that they wouldn't care to go back. I think the kids absolutely loved it and they would want to go back. I think maybe it would maybe be a different experience, maybe a better experience if we went at the end of May, right when they got out of school and got down there before too many people were there for summer and it was too hot. But I definitely think it's a got to go see at least once. And you can do other little stuff, like I said, go-karts, mini golf, pan for gold and gems, and they have all this just like kind of cliche touristy activities. So you absolutely can keep yourself busy for 3 or 4 days, but you're going to probably end up spending a couple $100 a day, especially if you have a family of at least 3 or 4. But wasn't too expensive for solo, bro. What'd you guys do for your spring break?
Lori was on spring break, so we went to a little, I don't know, tiny home, I guess, in Marietta.
Okay.
Or just outside
Marietta. Wait, I was gonna say, I thought you said Fallbrook was.
No, it's Fallbrook. So we went to the hot springs in Marietta. We stayed in Fallbrook, about like 35, 40 minutes away.
How was the hot springs?
Where was it, or how was it?
How was it?
It was good. It was funny because we scheduled it, in March. We weren't thinking it was going to be hot. Of course, it was the hottest day of the year so far. So it was like in the upper 80s, and we're in the hot springs. But they had a regular pool. They had some saunas, like a Roman pool, like a big spa. What else did they have? I don't know. It was like cold plunges, stuff like that. It was fun.
A little romantic getaway for the couple, huh? Didn't have to the kids didn't tag along. Who watched the kids?
Oh, we just left them here. Outside. We don't let them in the house. Leave them in the backyard with the cat.
We put a bowl of food for the cat and the kids, and they could just go to the bathroom in the yard. You'll pick it up when they get home. Or when you get home.
No, they stay with Lori's sister and our brother-in-law.
All right. For SoCal, what's been a good is there spring break good stuff in SoCal, or are you guys going to chill and relax and recover, or are you going to do some fun stuff for the kids?
I don't know. We might head up to Clovis, Fresno for a couple days to see some family, see some cousins, but it's a bummer because we have different spring breaks than Lori does. So Lori's was this week. The kids and mine is the week before Easter. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's always been like that since we lived here. So it's kind of a bummer.
So Sugar Mama has to stay back and keep earning that cheddar, and you and the kids get to go to the #1 destination for spring break now, Fresno, California.
Yeah, Millerton Lake. It's like it's the new Lake Havasu, I think.
Actually, I don't know if I want to go back again, because the last time I went was back in 2006 with Brian and Amy on Brian's boat, and I don't think an experience can get better than that. So I don't know if I'll ever go back to Millerton.
Yeah, it was that was a good time. The speakers on there, bumping some Modest Mouse.
Yeah, when Brian was still enjoying life before he got married. I mean, that came out wrong. When Brian was still enjoying somewhat the single life, and then he started dating Amy, and then kind of had to ditch the boat for a family life and a house.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Well, no, we haven't. Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's almost like I don't think that was even an insult. That was more of, I think, a shout out, a positive shout out. So thank you.
Yeah, we were living vicariously through you.
Well, I'm always down to hear from our 17 listeners. Let us know on our post on Instagram or YouTube what spot you guys like going for spring break. And do you remember, was it the late 90s when all the high schoolers and even maybe some of the college kids were all trying to go to Cancun for spring break?
I mean, that sounds right. I never went. I've never been.
I feel like it's not a thing anymore. I don't really hear about people wanting to go to Cancun for spring break.
Maybe we should now.
Well, I lived in the spring break capital of the world. I think it was at one time for a couple of years when I was in Panama City Beach. I definitely was over spring break when it came to that town.
I think a lot of people are like, spring break? I don't get a spring break.
Right?
It's like
Only
teachers and kids.
That's what I'm saying, teachers and kids. But
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, that would be a smart thing to prioritize if you get paid time off or even like non-paid time off. It's either spring break, a week in summer, or a week for the holidays. So, uh, but yeah, it's a lot of people from up north. I think we half the people we met in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge were like from Ohio or Wisconsin or Michigan. All these people in the cold states coming down to try and enjoy some good weather, which I don't blame them. But winter is overrated up north. I think it was a really good time. We did some diverse things. Last year it was fun when we went to Disney World in Orlando, but it was really just theme park after theme park for like 3 days straight. And just I love roller coasters, but in my opinion, Disney World isn't the epitome of good, numerous roller coaster rides. It's almost like they put one really good one at each park, so you have to like go to all 3 or 4 parks, and you can't just go like Six Flags where there's like 5 or 6 really cool roller coasters, and you could just in one day get them all knocked out.
How many parks are there? Is Epcot Center still a place?
Yeah, Epcot, that's one, and then there's like the Safari one. There's 4 for sure because I went to 3, and then they went the 4th day. I said nope, I'm skipping out. I'd chill by the pool at the resort, and they went for the final day, and then we all left on that Friday after the week. But that was fun. That was probably the second, even though the crowds and all the lines and all that BS was a little annoying. It was fun. Kids had a good time, and it wasn't too miserable. So Disney World was okay, but it's one of those kind of things I think a lot of people have one and done. So I would recommend waiting until your kids are like at least 7 or 8, and that way, 1, they remember it, and 2, they can go on most of the rides. I just think, why would you want to take like a 3-year-old there who's not going to remember anything? And I mean, you're just getting photo ops, I think. So I think it's a one and done for me, or at least go once and then maybe wait at least 5 years and then go again.
Is it implied or known that you say hang out with them every spring break, or is that just something you've done since you've been retired?
Yeah, no, just since I've been retired, it's the first time I've spent 2 in a row things with my sister. 2 Christmases in a row, 2 spring breaks in a row. It's been great, and I missed out on a lot of that when the kids were younger, just because I was still active duty, and you have to be wise about how you spend your 30 days of leave that you earn. So I usually saved it for 2 weeks in the summer, and then a week for Thanksgiving and a week for Christmas. So I usually skipped out on spring break.
Not anymore, baby.
No, now
free as a bird.
Free as a mockingbird, I think they call it. No, maybe peacock. Free as a peacock. No.
That's what it is.
But no, it's one of those things too where I'd like to try a different place every time for spring break, and I think I'd be more inclined to continue doing that with my sister as long as they want to do something new. I don't think I'm the type to go to the same spot or do the same thing multiple times for spring break. But I do love Florida, so if they want to go to Florida or Tampa next spring break, I probably won't refuse that. Plus, I already probably be on my road trip to Florida, so I'll be right there.
Orlando.
Yeah, I'll be there probably in about a week, visiting some friends. So,
what Universal Studios? You gonna hang out?
I think if we do go back to Orlando again, I would do Universal Studios as a part of the trip. But now that I'm scuba cert, I gotta spend some more time on the coast of Florida. Orlando's a little landlocked, but
Miami, papi.
I don't know what that means, but yeah, I think spring break is kind of a tease, and a lot of places still aren't that warm. But sitting at home is kind of overrated. You can do that on the weekends.
Speaking of the weekend, song of the week, and
good transition. I like how you did that.
You ready for it?
Yeah, we're done with spring break. Now let's get back to the grind of song of the week and question of the week.
Did you listen to it at all?
Absolutely. I listen to every song you send me.
Oh. So the song of the week this week is an old one. I went back to last year. My favorite song from last year, 2024, was a song "Heading for the Door" by Royal Otis, who quickly became one of my favorite bands. Well, certainly last year, but I have high expectations for these guys. I could see them being pretty big in the next few years, just their knack for songwriting and catchy tunes. But this one was my favorite song off of their Prats and Pain album that came out last year. Heading for the Door. Anyway,
how's he making that guitar work without a speaker?
AI. It's AI generated. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, they got kind of big or partially famous last year for covering that "Murder on the Dance Floor" song. That was pretty popular. Are you familiar with that one, Jake?
I am not actually.
Okay.
But I thought it was interesting. Did I see that right? They spell Royal ROYEL instead of traditional.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an Australian thing or what.
Oh, they're another Aussie band?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of good stuff coming out of Australia. So, like I said, they got a lot of radio play with "Murder on the Dance Floor" cover, and then they also covered "Linger" by the Cranberries, which is pretty good. I'm not a big Cranberry fan, so I actually think their version's better. But this song, they did a version of this song with the "Linger."
I did hear that one.
And it's a slowed down version of this song, and it's almost like a completely different song. And I actually heard that version before I heard this version. But it's just, I think this is my favorite song from last year. Hands down.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say I heard about that, or I listened to that "Linger" song. I got wind of it off TikTok or something, maybe six months ago, or maybe 3. But yeah, I think that's one of the best remakes of "Linger," and I was actually a little bit of a Cranberries fan. So
yeah,
you know.
But yeah, so we took the kids to go see these guys last September or October, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wasn't that long ago. And it was pretty cool. They had like a big giant prawn on their like behind them, and this was the opening song, so the kids are stoked. And we talked about this a couple episodes ago, or maybe it was last time, but I don't remember, that people or bands making complete albums that are just great, and I just felt like this one, the Prats and what is it? Prats and Pain was a great album. Like, I don't think I skipped many of the songs.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I didn't have time to listen to the whole album. And wasn't that song, the "Heading for the Door"? Wasn't that a single that they released? Was it on a full album?
Released. No, it was on the full album. So they released a lot of singles. I think a lot of people are doing that now, where they'll put out 1 or 2 songs, and it's almost like a mini EP, but it's like 1 or 2 songs, and then gradually you'll have. I think it came out as like a 13-song album, and then they even a few months later did an extended version. There's like 17 songs on the new album. Okay. But yeah, it came out as a single first, but like I said, I heard the slowed down version on the "Linger," which I think they did that for Sirius XM, so it's like live. It's really cool. So if you get it, I'll put a link to both the songs. Same song, just different versions of it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I definitely like it. I'll go back and listen. Excuse me. I'll go back and listen to the full album.
You better.
All right. Now that we're done with song of the week, we got the question of the week. All right, listeners and James, think about it. All right. We talked about spring break and having fun and being adventurous. But James, what I want to know from you, and I'm sure that the audience is dying to hear something from you that's special, right? So my question is, what's the most adventurous or unique experience you've had um, in your life, as far as just going somewhere, going to another city and doing some type of activity that was super cool? I said scuba diving was super cool and zip line was pretty darn cool, but I'm wondering what's your favorite adventure or unique experience you've had, James?
Um, so experiences, I just got this question not that long ago, so I have a long time to think about it. But there's three that kind of stand out. Maybe more than that, but when a friend who knows like their city really well and can take you around, like, and I have a friend named Lee Shaker. He's up in Portland now, but he was in Philadelphia, and he kind of showed us around Philadelphia, and then he showed us Portland. We fell in love with Portland, ended up living there. And then also a friend, Wyeth, from high school. Wyeth Hansen lived in Brooklyn, and when we stayed with him, like, those experiences were just so awesome when, like, somebody really knows the ins and outs of the place they live, which is pretty cool for those guys because they didn't grow up in those places, but they just did their research and learned about all these places. But so on a similar note, the most favorite or most adventurous time was when I went to Rome with my grandfather. I think he would go regularly, and this was about 10 years before he passed, maybe. Yeah, about I don't know what it was, but my cousin and I got to go to Rome with him, and he knew like the ins and outs of everything. So we walked. I mean, we never took a taxi, so our legs and feet were killing us, but we went to every like church that had any famous painting you've ever seen. And we've talked about Rome on here before, how much I enjoy it, but I think a big reason why I enjoyed Rome was because of that experience I had with him. He was basically like having our own tour guide. Just knew where everything was, knew where his favorite coffee shops were, knew it was pretty cool. So like going on that adventure with him and just being able to spend like time with my granddad, doing something that he loved to do, was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So we were in Rome and we went to Florence he's funny. He's military as well. He's Navy. And he's very regimented with his time. And it was like, wake up, 6 a.m, get your shoes on, let's go. What are we doing? We're not waiting. Get your coffee. If you're not ready, I'm leaving without you. There were times where we're running after him, and he's a lot older than us, and we're struggling to keep up with him. And so we were just moving so fast, but it was so cool to see all that stuff. But then we went to Florence, and we just basically went to Florence to see the Statue of David. And my cousin and I were like, well, what else is there? Like, nothing. Get back on the train. We're going to Rome. So, but it was fun. It was cool.
It's kind of throw back to the interview with Jim, like, you go visit a friend and like, all right, cool, what's there to do? Like, we actually don't know because we don't go out much. It's like, oh, okay. And I kind of felt that a little bit. I felt like I knew San Antonio better and got to show you guys a lot of San Antonio. But if people come visit me in Burleson, there's not a lot that I've shown people besides maybe the stockyards up in Fort Worth and downtown strip of Fort Worth. So it definitely helps. I think it makes an experience way better when somebody knows, multiple locations and activities and knows a little history or something about spots and good places to eat and all that stuff. I think it just enhances it. So definitely, this is advice for all our listeners. You better know your town. All right. Because if I come visit you, you better show me all of it.
I don't want any downtime.
No downtime. We'll sleep 6 hours and that's it. And then we'll right back to it.
All right. So right back at you. What's your most unique or adventurous experience?
I think, but I got a lot. I don't, it's hard to say which the best one is, but when the ship stopped in Australia and I got to snorkel the Great Barrier Reef and just kind of check that out. Super cool. I wish I was scuba qualified, so I could have gone a little deeper off the reef, but we just stick to the shallow reef and snorkeled. It was still fun. Really good experience, really cool experience boating out there and then jumping in the water. And I would say that's one of my better memories for adventure. And then skydiving in Oahu and seeing the whole island. I think that's another one in probably in my top 5. And I hate to say it, but maybe, you know, zip lining was pretty darn cool. I don't know if it's in top 5, but it was. Yeah, I think maybe it was just the whole experience with the cool guides and just the fun group we were with, and the weather was amazing, and the scenery of the Smoky Mountains was just so cool. So I think those are some of my top ones. But yeah, so moving forward, like I said, next week I should be in Florida early next week. If I should be stopping in Charleston and then Savannah, visiting a buddy in Savannah. Might be able to interview him, but he's pretty busy with life and work and all that stuff. So after that, I'm going to probably head down to St. Augustine, visit one of my Marine buddies. And I got multiple friends in Florida. So I think we're going to have a bunch of more interviews over the next 2 weeks. So I'm excited.
Sounds gooch. Safe travels. Stay safe on that bike out there.
I'll do what I can, man. My shoulder, granted, the pain meds are in kicking, but I think it didn't get worse. You know how like you get hit, or you know, people that get in car wrecks, they're okay the day of, but they wake up the next morning and they're just like, I can't move. That's what I thought might happen, and it didn't. So I'm very grateful that I still think something's not right. But
Hey, give it a day. We'll see how you feel tomorrow.
yeah, I'm hoping it just keeps getting better and I can get back there on the bike and just live it up, you know, on my mountain bike. Me and my mountain bike, you know?
That's the name of your album.
Okay.
All right. Love you. Bye.
All right. Talk to you
Good
later,
night.
Bubba. All right, Bubba.
Bye.
Bye.